Welcome in everyone to another edition of 70 Chipcast. I'm your host, Robertson Vire, and sitting virtually across from me is Ben Parker. I am not on camera. It is not by choice. It is technology that is being incredibly infuriating this evening, as our team was last evening against the dreadful Chicago Bears. They're not dreadful, but man, it felt like it watching them play. And I'm not having a good day, man. This is a bad day. I feel disgusted to be a fan of this team right now. This was we lost by a point, but it felt like we lost by like 10,000 points. And we're gonna get into all the reasons why I feel that way and why I'm sure Ben, you feel the same way. But before we dive into that, Ben, I hope you're doing better than I am today.
Hey, on a personal level, I'm doing great. Life is good. I'm busy, but boy, on a commander's level,
Yeah.
I just feel sick. All right, and I didn't feel sick until we lost, but now I feel sick. That's truly the way I feel coming off of that game right there from a commander's level. That is rough to go down that way. We're gonna listen. Thank you all for joining us. We are fighting some technical difficulties tonight. We're gonna fight through that best we can. We'll get them all cleared up by next week. But we're gonna whine and moan for a while. Okay, during the first half of this show, just full disclosure, we're gonna whine and moan and complain for a while over what we got, and then we'll move on during the second half of this show and do a preview for the Cowboys week. But that's what's on tap for tonight. Okay.
See, the I have not felt this way since probably pre-Jaden. Like the championship game last year, that was pretty bad, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
it was almost to be expected. Like I expected us to be more competitive than we were, but I mean, we just got outclassed by a better team, right? This was
Yeah.
different. I truly felt that we were better, and I'll just go ahead and get this changed here. I truly felt that we were better than the Bears at pretty much all three phases, you know? Um, There are a couple areas they might have been stronger in, but generally speaking, I thought we were stronger in all three phases. Numbers wise, pretty much were. And that was infuriating. Our strengths and their weaknesses matched up perfectly in favor of us, and the exact opposite happened. Um, we made a comeback. We even took I don't want to say a strong lead, but we took a reasonably reasonable sized lead, and we coughed it up. And it's just and the way it was coughed up literally is just so disheartening and discouraging, and you just wonder like what happens from here, and we'll get to that specifically here in a bit. But oh my God, I feel sick honestly because this was a game that we
Yeah.
had won, that we should have won, that shouldn't have been close. If I'm being completely honest, it shouldn't have been that close. It really shouldn't have been. Um, but it was, and I mean, at best, we would have won by, we hang on to the ball and we win by 2 points, but and we were like, wow, man, we escaped one there. Like we got some stuff to work on. We escaped one there though, but we can't even say that, you know. We'll get into the nitty gritty details of the performances, what we liked, what we didn't like, and all that. But just in general, man, it's disheartening. It's disgusting. I feel disgusting today.
Yeah. It's rough on two different levels, one of which you already covered, and that is we basically had this game won. It wasn't on lockdown, but we had come back from double digits again, as if we need to be, I don't know, do we have to be down by double digits every week to start off every game? Right? Apparently so. But by second quarter, we had kind of started taking control. And by third quarter, we were in control, you know? And it even looked like we were about to kind of pull away.
Yeah.
And then we didn't pull away. And then still, even though we didn't pull away, we still had the game basically won. All we had to do was just finish it out, close it out, and then we give it away. I mean, goodness gracious, that's what really makes me feel sick is giving the game away because it's bad enough to play bad. We know we didn't play our best game. I'm not sure we've had a best game yet this year, right? But you said tell yourself, hey, at least we won. We move on. Now we lost. And the second part that really is bothersome to me is something that you and I talked about during the preseason is how tight the NFC projects to be, and it's exactly that. Had we won this game, and I know it's only week 6 or 7, but still, this is what we talked about at the start of the season. Had we won this game, we would be 4-2, and we would be somewhere in a cluster of teams seeded 3 to 8 in the NFC. They're all 4-2, you know? With tiebreakers, it depends on where you'd be. Now we're at 3-3. We're somewhere around 12th or 13th in the NFC. And I'm painfully aware that 2 wins in a row vaults us right back up to the 3 or 4 seed, possibly. But still, it's going to be nip tuck and tight all the way down to the end of the year in this NFC for even a playoff spot. They are going to be hard to come by. And losing a game like this, in which we basically just gave it away at the end, a game that we basically had won, it doesn't just hurt for losing the game. It hurts for where our positioning is, and that's not good. This is not a good week to be a Commanders fan. And we've had a lot of good weeks over the past year and a half, 2 years, man.
So the our next four are against Dallas, which will obviously we're here to preview that game instead of just talking about this one.
Yeah.
Um, we got the Chiefs on Monday night. We got the Seattle Seahawks, and then we got the Detroit Lions. Okay. All of them have one thing in common, and that is they have incredibly strong offenses. Okay. That can beat you in multiple different ways. Kansas City, probably the least impressive offense of those, but they have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce, and they're going to get Rashee Rice back. Nothing screams dynamic out of that offense other than Patrick Mahomes, but that's all they need, right? To put up 30, you know. And this is going to be a rough few weeks. Okay, I'll get to it here later. Dallas is like salivating right now. Schottenheimer's like, man, we get this defense this week, man, that's good. Um, and I don't like that. And it's a lot of pressure to be put back on the offense, on Jaden, on Kingsbury, and it's pressure on the defense too, because it's like, man, if we can't, here's the thing. All right, I'm fine. I'm not fine, but like, if you want to give up all these yards and you're just accepting like Witt and Quinn, they're like, okay, we're gonna give up tons of yards. You got to force turnovers. You got to tighten it. Now, one thing I will say I was rather pleased with was, okay, we gave up for majority of these drives that Chicago had. They went on these long drives. They were in our territory, but we were able to somehow either tighten up or they made mistakes that were self-inflicted and we like got off the field and they kicked field goals. I think it was like 4 or 5 times that happened. Okay. That was, if there was any encouraging silver lining to this, it's like, okay, we got off the field like, those times, right? But man, I'm convinced that even on that last drive, if they needed a touchdown to win, they would have marched right down there. They had the time, they had the timeouts, that they would have gotten anything they needed, you know. Um, and the defense just, I don't want to say they rolled over, but especially on that last drive, they pretty much all but rolled over. I mean, they gave up huge, just chunk plays, chunk runs when you know they're going to run the ball. It was just overall just so frustrating. The next four opponents, that sucks because there's no room for error at this point, as you alluded to. Um, there weren't encouraging signs, at least not many, from the defense last night. Um, it feels like we're back at, the beginning of last year, basically, with how bad this defense is. There were a couple, performances here and there. I thought Lattimore, I mean, they didn't really target him. But was that because, it was Ben Johnson saying don't target him, or was that Caleb Williams, not knowing any better, right? I think Trey Amos is having a really solid rookie season. He didn't do anything bad last night, but Other than that, man, it's been rough across the board. I mean, that front four, we had Swiss cheese as a run defense. And it was just so rough. There's a million and 10 things I could say about this game, and it's all just kind of in my head. I can't really articulate it right now, so I'll throw it back to you so I can gather my thoughts a little bit.
It's in your head, it's in your heart. Most of it's probably not good if it's
No,
like me. You listen, it wasn't all bad. We
no.
made enough plays to win the game, except we didn't, So, I don't question the effort of the guys, but my gosh, just sloppy. We kept killing. We opened our free. I guess in addition to going down by double digits every game to start the game, I guess Laramie Tunsil just has to get that false start penalty out of the way right at the start, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
dadgummit. Geez, I we showed that we were the better team for the second and third quarter. We were taking control. We were in control in the fourth quarter. But the defense looked even worse in some ways. You mentioned that all the rush yardage they were giving up consistently, chunk, chunk, chunk. And I don't mean, 20 yards, but 5 yards here, 8 yards there. Here's a 4 yard play. Oh, we stopped them. We held them to two. Now it's back to 7 yards that were given up all on the ground to a team that was not good at running the football.
nope.
And we've looked pretty good at stopping running backs this year. So I don't know what changed there exactly, other than the offensive line for them was making some holes. Maybe that's something they weren't doing very effectively early in the season, but that was a big deal. Boy, we just kept giving up yards on the ground, so that hurt. That was a really big deal. And then, you mentioned it. Roma Dunze got open twice behind our defense. Caleb Williams missed him the first time, just threw a bad pass. The second time, didn't even see him. He's wide open behind the defense.
Yeah.
Adunze is not even a speedster per se. He's fast enough, but he's not the vertical stretch guy. And there he is getting open twice behind the defense, in addition to the 250 yards that Caleb Williams did pass for us on.
Hmm.
So, that just a really discouraging night for the defense against the Bears team. And full credit to Bears coaching staff, and to Caleb Williams and to what we thought would be a good wide receiving core. They were going to produce some yardage. We expected that, and I did like the play calling, the play mix that Chicago did last night. But still, from our defensive standpoint, it was just a really bad night. And then as a team as a whole, we just continue to beat ourselves with turnovers and penalties, unforced penalties. You mentioned this early in the season. It's different if my left tackle's getting beat and he holds a guy because he's getting beat, or if my cornerback is getting beat and he holds a guy because he's getting beat. That's not what a lot of this is. It's dropped passes. It's mental penalties, mental mistakes. It is everything that you would teach guys not to do. We're doing, and that's killing us. And to be honest, the game never should have come down to being that close at the end. You already alluded to that, right? If we don't make all the mistakes leading up to that point in the game, we're up probably by double digits. I thought we'd played well enough in the middle of the game to kind of have pulled away, but the mistakes just kept keeping that score close, keeping it tight. And then, that fumble late in the game, we just hand the game right back to them. That is brutal.
I mean, Matt Gay misses another field goal. And then we
Yeah,
have an opportunity late in the game to put points on the board. Now,
right,
granted, it was a 58-yard field goal, and who knows if he makes it or misses it. But
right,
because he missed that earlier field goal, Dan Quinn decides to punt it away. And
right,
so there's at least three, if not 6 points that were now who knows if he had made that, 50 some yarder earlier in the game, maybe Quinn stays conservative there and still punts the ball away. I don't know.
right.
But that's another opportunity. It's like you don't have the confidence in your kicker. You get one of these elite kickers in the NFL these days and a 58 yarder, you're like, oh yeah, he can make that. He can make that pretty easily. And we that's another problem that we have is we don't have a kicker, at least a reliable one. And and I just I'm so sick. I'm gonna go ahead and move on here to get into some more specifics here. The I labeled this missed opportunities. You wanted to point out the points per game here for for us throughout the first 6 weeks. And one thing that is consistent, I think, is that we should be scoring one, I think we should be scoring more. Um, you know, we can say that the 41 points against the Raiders, like that's kind of an aberration. The Raiders stink. I don't think that's a secret. 27 should have been enough to beat the Falcons, but we missed opportunities in that game. We should have capitalized more and scored more. Chargers again beat ourselves in the first half. Too many mistakes. Should have scored more points there. Albeit we scored enough to win, but should have scored more. Green Bay game, same thing. New York game, same thing. And then last night, obviously. Um, I'm just seeing missed opportunities and points left out on the field. Opportunities just absolutely missed or botched or boggled, however you want to say it, however you want to phrase it. Offense has not been nearly as impressive. And I understand Jaden's been out hobbled with injuries, but definitely missed opportunities and not the way that this offense that I think either of us had imagined this offense coming into the year.
Ultimately, no. You and I talked about how there really wasn't any reason, all things considered, why we couldn't be up around 29, 30 points a game. We're not hitting that. We're not a bad offense. We are producing. And I do like the consistency that we see here where the past 3 weeks we've been at 24, 27, 27, right? So we're hitting right in that mark. That's fine. It allows us to compete for these games, right? These games are tight. And then you hit the 41 with a backup quarterback against a bad team. That's good. But then, you had the 2 weeks early on in the season where you're hovering around 20 points a game, right? So I do like the fact that we're consistently producing yardage and points over the past 4 weeks. That part is good. But I feel the same way. We should be up, I think, around 30 points a game based on what I've seen out of this offense and against the teams we're playing. The past 2 weeks, the Bears and the Chargers have committed just as many goofy mistakes as we have.
Yeah.
We won one, we lost one. But boy, the past 2 weeks, Bears, Chargers, and us, it's reminiscent of what college teams do, where it's just not that efficiency. You're not taking care of the ball, lots of goofy mistakes, but you expect that. They're 18 to 22 years old. You don't expect that from the pros, and we've seen it the past 2 weeks from the Chargers and the Bears, and we've been doing it pretty much all season. I mean, except for maybe the Giants game, which has been so long ago, I don't even remember. We've been beating ourselves all year with goofy mistakes, and you just don't expect that from good pro teams. You expect it from the bad ones. We think we're a pretty good team. I think we've been better than most of these teams we've been playing as far as talent level, but we are not playing at a deficient level. Just not at all. It is wildly inefficient.
Some silver linings here, I suppose. Reinforcements are coming. We should be getting Sam Cosmi back in the starting lineup on the offensive line. We should be getting Terry McLaurin back this week.
Hmm.
Noah Brown, I'm not holding my breath on that one, but I would imagine he's close. So definitely some injected energy and life into this offense that is desperately, I don't want to say desperately needed because we are scoring points, but
Right, right.
not what we should be producing. And we're gonna need to score over 30 in this game against Dallas. That's just
Yeah,
a guarantee.
we are.
We need to score. I don't want to say it's guaranteed that we score 30, okay? But we need to score more than 30 because the Cowboys can put up 30 against us.
Yes,
So,
yes.
um, before we get into the Dallas game, I'm switching things up this week a little bit because I want to do the toasted roasted segment first before we get into Ben's scouting report because I want to get all my Chicago. I want to finish out my all my Chicago thoughts on specific players and specific groups, I suppose, and then have that kind of as a segue into the Dallas preview. So first on here, I got Luke McCaffrey. Okay. hats off to this guy, man. He's still having limited opportunities, but he is making the most of what of the opportunities he is getting. I mean, he's been the primary kick returner now for a couple weeks, and he's doing very well. Um, his time as a receiver, I mean, he's catching touchdowns, he's getting open. I'd like to see him get some maybe more opportunities, but now with McLaurin and Noah Brown potentially coming back in the next week, I'm sure he's going to be back at a much more reserved role. However, I like that he's been capitalizing on his opportunities. Next, I have Jalen Lane here. Again, had that big play the other night. Still a pretty good, decent punt returner. Didn't have many dynamic returns last night, but again, finding his place on this team. These young guys, rookie, this guy for Jalen Lane, but just finding his place in this offense. Josh Conley Jr. didn't call his name once last night, which is great. We don't want to hear rookie right tackle. We don't want to hear that guy's name called at all during the broadcast unless it's for a pancake block. It's like, wow, look at him get out in space and all that. But last night didn't hear his name called once. Was perfectly fine with that. Chris Paul didn't grade out very well for his run blocking, but had over an 80 again on pass block. I mean, this guy, you want to talk about a guy that's taking advantage of the chance that he has. You look at I said Sam Cosmi's coming back this week. I don't think Chris Paul's the one hitting the bench. I think it's Andrew Wiley. Because Chris Paul, I mean, granted his run blocking numbers aren't great, but man, his pass block. I mean, that left side, if Tunsil, I wouldn't imagine between Chris Paul and Laramie Tunsil that Laramie Tunsil would be the problem. But if he can get the penalties straight, the left side of the line should be good, right? So hats off to Chris Paul there, toasting you, sir. And then Trey Amos. I mentioned him a little bit earlier. One of the only defenders that I can actually give credit to here is that this guy just keeps making plays. He had another pass breakup last night. I like the way that he's playing out there at corner for a rookie. Has only had two penalties in 6 games for a rookie corner. I feel like that's really good. So I like where he's at. I don't love it because I like to see him make some, maybe get his hands on a couple balls here. Uh, create some turnovers, be dynamic like that. But I can't really be upset with the way he's played through the first 6 weeks. Um, I have to be pleased with the way a rookie corner is played. Now we'll see. It's going to get rough. We're about to play some really dynamic offenses, but I can't complain through the first 6 weeks. Before I get to guys, I'm going to absolutely roast in the next couple minutes here. Do you have any thoughts on these guys?
The one little silver lining here, and again, the entire Bears game was not all bad. There was a lot of good things in it, but the result was so bad, and the mistakes were so bad. But what I do like here, these are all young guys here that are
Hmm.
contributing. Now, there are different levels of production, right? And there's different levels of, you know, being on the field a lot, but these are all young guys that are contributing. And, we even talked about Connerly struggling around week 2 and 3, and for him to put in a solid game, and for Chris Paul to be putting in solid play, and for Trey Amos to be looking good as a defensive back in a secondary that has struggled bitterly so far, and then for McCaffrey and Lane to be at least pitching in, when McLaurin is out, that's all important. Those plays do matter. Those things matter a lot. So to be seeing it from the young guys, I would love over the course of this season to see them produce at higher levels. But hey, for now, I'll take the fact that they are contributing in big plays here and there, and that's a very big deal from the skill guys, and then for Connerly and Paul to be on the field so much and not to be costing us a lot of things, you know, contributing to the production and the winning. That's a big deal that these young guys are doing that.
All right. Roasted. So
Mm.
here's my thing with it. I didn't put them on here. Um, but Dan Quinn and Joe Witt, they're at the top of the list here. Um, Dan Quinn pretty much admitted he's like, yeah, when you got 3 turnovers, it's like you don't really deserve to win the game. It's like he said it's been a theme at this point to start slow. Um, Joe Witt again, maybe doesn't have the personality he wants or needs, but he hasn't improved at all, hasn't made adjustments at all, and it's the same stuff every week, same results. Early on in the season, we were more pleased with our run defense, but I mean, Eddie Goldman was out last night. Are you going to say well, that one guy controls your entire rush defense? I'm not buying that one. So they're at the top of the list. I didn't put them on here, but they're at the top of the list because at the end of the day, it's Joe Wood's defense, but it's Dan Quinn's team, and he's a defensive coach. Why is it taking this long for adjustments to be made or things to be done about this? Dan Quinn's saying all this. It's like, okay, so it almost seems like you knew that this was going on. Why did we let it get to this point? All right. So, I mean, I like Dan Quinn, but you're a defensive coach. Get the defense right. I don't care if you're stepping on toes at this point. I want wins. I don't care about people's hurt feelings or people's if you need to take play calling away from Joe Witt, do it. Do it now because you're facing some rough offenses over the next couple of weeks. So let's get to I mean, I put defense on here. I feel like that's self-explanatory. Run defense, awful. Secondary, outside of Amos and I think Lattimore, he had a decent game, but just not good. Secondary, Sanders still not having a great game. Quan Martin, awful game. I don't know how he was the highest graded PFF guy on the team last night. I don't understand that at all. He had a pass breakup on that deep shot to Adunze, but he should have had the pick, if I'm being quite honest with you. And he had that horrible missed tackle. I mean, it's almost like I don't know if he just took a wrong angle. I don't know what happened, but he was like a cartoon character trying to tackle DeAndre Swift on that 55-yard touchdown play. Just awful defense. Up the middle, no pass rush. I mean, I think we sacked Caleb Williams once. Uh, got no pressure on him any other times. Just absolutely atrocious performance by the defense. Ball security. Now, you can't turn the ball over three times.
Hmm.
You can't throw. Look, quarterbacks throw interceptions. I'm almost willing to forgive that, right? But Bill put the ball on the ground. Jaden put the ball on the ground. Do we not practice wet ball drills? Is that a thing that we don't do? We knew it was going to be raining. We knew this big storm was coming up the East Coast here. Did we not prepare for that? I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, we got to hold on to the ball, protect the ball. If you're not going to force turnovers, you can't be giving it up. Again, I feel like that comes back to coaching, but I digress. Pass rush, I already mentioned that. Pass rush, non-existent. Preston Smith played majority of the game. He just got here. I understand we got injuries. Dorrance Armstrong was in and out of the lineup. Edge, our edge position outside of Dorrance Armstrong, and even then, I think he's just playing above what he is capable of. We'll see if that lasts throughout the season or not, but just non-existent. Von Miller, no impact last night. You couldn't even tell if Von Miller was on the field last night. Just absolutely atrocious. Matt Gay, you can't miss that. Can't miss that field goal. Uh, Clearly lost the trust of the coach there when we had a chance to kick a field goal. He has the leg to kick a 58-yarder, but it was the weather. But I'm sorry, if I have a chance to put points on the board, I'm going to take it in a close game. Instead, we punted it because you missed early on in the game. Bill, he look, man. The Bears defense was an awful run defense. Okay. And you average less than 4 yards a carry and you fumble. And I'm sorry, I just can't forgive that. You know, like you had opportunities. It wasn't that the offensive line didn't have a great game run blocking, but at the same time, you're supposed to be this dynamic back that has, I mean, he does have really good cutting ability. I mean, that was on display last night. That you could tell, but he wasn't creating. He was getting hit at or just past the line of scrimmage. Sometimes behind the line of scrimmage. And I need more from you. I need more from you. Very least, I need you to protect the football. Second straight week with fumble. And then Jaden, he's on my list here. We're not in that game without Jaden. Okay, but we also lost the game because of Jaden, or he was a reason why we lost. You can't put the ball on the ground. Okay. You also can't throw a pick on what, 25, 30 yard line. Can't do that either. Okay. I can forgive the interception if you don't fumble later on in the game or if you make up for that. And he did up until that fumble. So I really feel like this is partly on him as well. Um, he needs to shoulder some of this blame, and he has. He's taking accountability for it. But um, there are that this might be the first game where you can point to Jade and be like, yeah, he's the reason why we lost. So that there's probably a bunch more I could put on here, but for time's sake, I'll leave it at that.
See, and I agree with everything you've got over here on the roasted side. It was all of these things were problems. Several of them were problems before we got to this week. Some of them popped up during this week.
Yeah.
The one little silver lining here is we still should have won this game even with all of this, which again, that's a testament to how the culture has changed, the coaching has changed, the talent level has changed here, okay? That we can play this bad, make this many mistakes, and still should have walked away with a victory. You wouldn't have said that too often 5 years ago, right? Or even 3 years ago. So that's a big difference. But my gosh, again, these are college and high school level mistakes that we're making or things that we're doing, and we are pros here and a pretty good pro team at that. Hey, I'm going to hit a couple of these things right here real quick. The ball security has got to be better. You're dead on. If we're not going to be the kind of defense that produces a lot of turnovers, and it doesn't look like we are, we cannot be giving the ball away. We just not going to be built that way. We can't win that way. I didn't like the interception myself. It's not that that was the worst interception in the world, and I understand because, boy, these days every time a quarterback throws a pick, people either say, "Well, he just didn't see the guy," or the wide receiver screwed up, which a lot of times is true. But when you're in goal line like that and you're Jaden Daniels, you have to know that it's crowded in there. And you can't just assume, even if he didn't see the guy dropping, you can't just assume that that receiver is going to be that open and there's not going to be a defender closing quick on that. It really felt like a very kind of a lackadaisical pass, is what that felt like. You have got to know somewhere coming in there, there's a defender coming to close off that window. And I thought that was a pretty bad interception, especially knowing the Commanders were about to go in and score. That was what I felt about that. But then, you're right, the two fumbles, that's back-to-back weeks now for Bill to be fumbling the football. So we got to cut that out. And Jaden Daniels has got to know, listen, I know it's messy weather, but you've got the game won. There's what, 3 minutes left in the game? You just have to know on that missed exchange there, you have to know we've got to be extra careful with this football. Worst case, we run down a little more time and we punt it. That's worst case. So the ball security's got to be better. And I'll tap into Jaden just a little bit more here. I feel like watching him last night. Usually, when you have a young quarterback, he wants to bail out of the pocket too quick, right? He's not hanging in there long enough. That's a legit problem for young quarterbacks. Thankfully, Jaden has not shown much of that. I kind of felt like he was hanging around in the pocket too long last night, several times. I felt like there were several plays in which he could have just immediately made a decision to scoot, pick up some yardage, pick up a first down, and the chains keep moving, and instead he's sitting there, sitting there, sitting there, looking for a guy to break open. Then he even moves out of pocket, and he still hasn't taken off running. He's still sitting there, looking for a receiver. Which again, I'm glad he's looking for these receivers and not just bailing out. But he's already shown that he can run very well in this league. Make a decision a little bit quicker. Let's move on. Let's grab some yards here. Let's move the chains. I think that would help out a little bit too for this offense. So, not a good night, man. Everybody on this roasted side deserves to be there, plus a couple more.
And look, I don't know I've said this on air. I know I've said it to you a couple times now. And maybe I just I feel like an old man sitting on his porch in a rocking chair, but it was on national television, so I wasn't the only one that saw it. After the interception, after a costly penalty, the intentional grounding penalty, um, when we were down by 2 scores, he's over there, and cameras on him, and he's just laughing it up with everybody, you know? And look, I don't. They're like, oh, that's Jaden. Like he's the same guy, whether you're ahead, whether you're behind. Like he's just even keel, cool, chill guy, right? And I'm fine with that. But when you're down 2 scores and you threw the interception and you caused the intentional grounding penalty and you fumbled the football, is that really time to be smiling and laughing? Like there's you know, again, I'm not downing his leadership. I'm not downing his personality. I'm not saying that's a negative thing. But I don't I said this a couple times, like, man, we're behind and he made a mistake or whatever, and he's just laughing it up. Like there's just something about that that just doesn't sit right with me. And I don't like that. And I don't like bringing attention to it because I feel like I'm crazy because everyone loves Jaden. I love him too, but I don't like that. It's not a good look.
Yeah, okay, so I typically agree with you. Whenever I felt this way about a lot of different leagues for, a couple of decades now, where it doesn't feel like in some cases they're overly worried about what's going to happen in the game, right? That bothers me. And the more I care about a team, the more that bothers me. The one thing I would say about Jaden, and it's less about him being consistent and it's less about him being balanced. It honestly feels like that's maybe the way he's emotionally wired, as if he were to quit laughing, quit smiling, quit being loose, he would flip to being very tight, very scared, and that's almost just his emotions. He likes to be funny, loose, and keep it light. That seems to be the way he likes to go about it. If emotionally that's the way he's wired, I'll be okay with it. But you'd rather not see it when your team's losing and the TV camera flashes over to you, which of course it's going to, right? So I typically feel the same way. And the only caveat to that is maybe Jaden's just emotionally wired that way. So,
Now I will say I prefer that to the Cam Newton like just brooding on the bench with the towel over his
right.
head, not talking to anybody. Like I prefer what Jaden's got going on as opposed to what Cam, which always drove me nuts. Where it's like, man, you're just gonna block out everybody and not talk to anybody, not type up your teammates, not like even acknowledge that
Right.
anyone's there. Like that drove me nuts. I'm sure it drove a
Right.
lot of other people crazy too, but I prefer this to that. But at the same time, it's like, man, can we at least see that this bothers you a little bit? Like, can you show like, man, I'm pissed that I just made this mistake and be like, oh yeah, like just when I'm sitting there, and maybe it's just, me, but when I'm sitting there pissed that, my team just made a mistake, and he's the one that caused it, and he's sitting on the sideline laughing and, and everything like that. I'm sorry, that rubs me the wrong way. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy, but yeah,
It's
I don't
not a
like it.
normal reaction. We all like it better when Tom Brady is stomping up and down the sidelines screaming at people, right? Or we like it when Geno Smith, after every time he makes a mistake, boy, he is lit up, right? He is on fire, or we like it when Lamar Jackson or Baker Mayfield, they throw a pick and they're sitting over there. You can see them studying, their little iPads, right?
Yeah.
You know, Trying to figure out what the heck went on. You don't see that from Jaden. If emotionally he's wired that way, where he's just really needs to feel loose and light, I'm okay with it, but I'd rather not have them wired that way. Hey, while we're picking on things, I've got one more thing I just got to roast here, okay? Because we're
Sure.
just having ourselves a good old time tonight, right?
Oh yeah.
So I promise there's a Cowboys preview coming, y'all.
There is. This was going to be a segue to it, but I got carried away. I'm sorry.
Hey, hey, listen, I think the audience all knew that you were going to get carried away tonight, okay? Because it
Fair
wasn't
enough.
good, and you're probably speaking on behalf of most of the audience anyway. So,
Yeah.
okay, if I'm in the minority, fine, I don't care. But I'm gonna rant on these uniforms, man.
Oh
These
man.
black uniforms are ugly. They are awful crap. Whoever in the league signed off on this, whoever on the franchise signed off on this, these uniforms are ugly, man. Get the heck rid of them. I'm all for having a sleek alternate uniform. I'm all for having multiple alternate uniforms. And I could even tolerate this quasi burgundy W uniform that we put up with most of the time. But those black uniforms are, I hate them. I absolutely hate them. First of all, the all black, the black helmet, shirt, shoes, pants combo. I hate that. You know, if you would at least offset it with white pants or yellow pants, I could tolerate it a little bit more.
The burgundy pants with the burgundy helmet, I would have been, or at least your what you're claiming is burgundy. That
Yeah,
would have looked a lot better with the black jersey, I think.
whatever. There's different combinations, but first of all, the all black thing I don't like. All black from head to toe, I hate that. Second of all, the W sitting on the front of their helmet, that just looks goofy. I don't know who
Yep.
ever signed off on that. That's a goofy look. I can tolerate the numbers on the side because that's kind of old school, right? I can tolerate numbers on the side of the helmet for one night where we're not gonna have a logo showing, okay, whatever. But the W sitting up here on the front of the helmet, it just looks goofy. It looks tacky. It looks like it was stuck on there. I hate that. Usually I can tolerate the yellow stripes on the back of the jersey. For some reason on that black jersey, the double yellow stripes on top and bottom of the name, that looks lousy. It just looks like doggy do to me. The the fact that we show up now without a logo, basically for the all black night, it just looked terrible. When you zoom in close on the uniforms, you get the up close look, and you start to see a little twinge of color, that twinge of burgundy and twinge of yellow. It helped a little, but not enough. These uniforms are awful. I wish they would change them. If we got to have an alternate jersey that's completely different from what we normally wear, let's think up something that actually looks good, people. Let's have a chrome helmet, okay? Let's have a yellow version. Yep, let's mix in some yellow pants with the black helmet and the black jersey. Let's mix in some white pants with the black helmet, black jersey. There are so many different ways to do that. This one looks really bad. I absolutely hate this uniform.
So I actually prefer the black jersey to the burgundy jersey and the white jersey, especially the white jersey. Um, Mainly because that's just not the burgundy jersey that I grew up with, and it's not burgundy, and I hate it. Same on the white jersey, it's not burgundy, and I hate it. Also, I hate the black outline with the numbers as well. I just can't stand that. Um, so actually, like of all the uniform combos, I think my favorite one would be the black jersey with the burgundy pants with the so-called burgundy helmet, the standard primary helmet. Um, I think that would be my favorite combination. However, I do have some good news. Okay, it's not really necessarily news, but it's just a an observation that I've been keeping tabs on over the past couple weeks. So, at our last home game, a fan posted a video of, I think it was right before the player introductions. I think I had talked about this on, I mean, this was months ago, where there was a leak from the team photo shoot where you could see Jaden holding a spear in kind of like a, think Roman Empire type of setting, with
Yes.
that stuff, right?
Yep.
And, they're playing off, a bunch of like a hype video basically, before they introduce the players and all that, and they're showing some of the current players in that same set, and Jaden holding the spear and all that other stuff, right? So like, oh, maybe they're gonna bring back the spear, like we did on the helmets for a while there. I think that was early in the 60s, and then it was an alternate uniform, I believe, sometime in the early 2000s. Daryl Green wore it. I think who was it? Tim Hasselbeck was our quarterback when we were wearing those jerseys. So not a great time to reflect on that, but still prefer that to the W or anything else. Last night, oh well, like I said, but again, back to this home game a couple weeks ago, right before they did the player introductions, they were just showing the spear with flames on it, like it was the spear was on fire. I was like, oh, and they just centered on that for a second. I was like, well, that's interesting. That means something. Like someone had to edit that and approve that. Like that's not mistake. That was on there for, a solid few seconds, before they got into the player introductions. And then last night, Daryl Green is out on the field with a spear, chanting or getting the crowd to chant "Raise Hail." That is something. I'm sorry. Like this is something that they got going on, that there's going to be some sort of rebrand probably after the season. Especially if we don't make the playoffs, it's definitely happening. Okay. Which we're in danger of doing, by the way. So some good news on that front, that maybe these alternate uniforms, the championship uniforms that we're going to be wearing here in a couple weeks, we changed the helmet from the W to the old spear, and maybe they do it. It's like it's a play on, instead of Native American imagery, it's a play on the Romans or whatever. Um, don't love it, but if it looks like we used to, like we used to look a while ago, I'm fine with that. Um, anything is better than the W at this point. I have a feeling, but I really truly think that there are changes coming to the uniforms. So since you brought it up, I wanted to cover that.
It can't come fast enough. Listen, we've got one of, if not the worst, set of uniforms in the NFL right now.
Oh,
It
it's
just
not
cannot
close.
come quick enough for me. My gosh, this has got to stop. And it's like everything just gets worse. Nothing gets better. It just keeps getting worse. Every little twist, I don't know who's in charge of that, but anyway, it's awful. Final note on the game for me, as we put a bow here on the Chicago thing. I'm sure the players and the coaches feel just as sick and just as bad as all of us fans do. They don't want to lose any more than we do. So I'm sure they feel sick. It's a game we should have won. We didn't play good. We should have won. We didn't. It goes on. So, as quickly as you can study this film and get it behind you, you got a new opponent next week. So, like everything else in life, life goes on. So, we've all had our fuss, our say, our moans, our groans, our complaints. Time to move on. So, got the new opponent coming up.
So a quick segue here is that Jaden has not played well against Dallas. In his
Hmm.
two games against Dallas, he did not play well last year, to the
Oh.
point where they can say that, oh, but Jaden got benched. You can claim wasn't for performance, but he was not playing well, and the offense looked completely inept. Like, oh, we were saving him for the playoffs. It's like, okay, that's fine. You can claim that. But as soon as you put Mariota in, you started scoring points. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, man. That's a conversation that people haven't wanted to have. But we needed to win that game, and he couldn't do anything. And you put Mariota in there, and all of a sudden you're starting to move the ball and score points. But I digress into that. I'm saying that's important for this week, obviously, because Jaden has not played a complete game where he's just solid or even dominant, not even close to that, where he's just has a dominant performance from start to finish. Hasn't had that this year. We saw that a couple times last year. Haven't seen it this year. So against a horrible uh, Dallas Cowboys defense, you would like to hope that he could get things turned around here.
I'm telling you what, man. Do my little scouted report thing here. Shoot, I don't know where I want to start first. Well, let me start on the left side of the screen, I guess, for most of you, the offensive ranks. So these are 2025 ranks. Most of them are green, right? It's no secret. The Dallas Cowboys offense has been killing it, much better than I expected this year. I thought they would be fine. They have been lighting it the heck up. Dak Prescott has been lighting it up, and they have been beautiful. Points per game, third, yards per game, first, passing yards per game, second, offensive EPA, two, third down, eight. They're middle of the pack at, rushing yards and red zone, but who cares? They're killing it on offense. So, and you look over at the on the right side of the screen, the Cowboys position groups there in my grades, good wide receivers, especially if CeeDee Lamb is on the field, which he hasn't been. Still very capable there with Pickens, but Prescott's really been the guy here. The offensive line has been fine, but not great. The tight ends are contributing. The running backs are picking it up a little bit, but they're still nothing special. It's been Prescott and these wide receivers that have been really cooking here, and the play calling has been good. And then you go on the defensive side, and it's no secret again. It has been the total opposite. These guys are wretched on defense. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Every single category is full red. 24th is the best rank, and that's the sacks category. Our
Yep.
21st is the red zone, but it is a wretched defense, along with the Miami Dolphins, probably one of the two worst defenses in football. And, that is what it is. So, really good offense, really bad defense, y'all.
Yeah, if there was a get right game, at least for the offense, you would like to hope it'd be this game, right? Where you could just pour on points and name your number and, you know, you should be able to hit it. If you want to score 50 in this game, not trying to be rude to Dallas fans, although, wouldn't exactly wouldn't exactly be upset if I did that. Um, you should be able to hit 50, right? If you want to hit 50, be like, okay, let's go to do it. We got Terry coming back. We got Debo. Hopefully he's healthy. Debo was not right last night. I don't know if you saw that or not either, but he just was not himself. He's been dealing with a foot injury. You got Debo. I mean, Bill should. Now he didn't last night, but he should be able to run the football here. Whether it's Bill, whether it's Rodriguez, McNichols, I don't care who the heck it is. Someone should be able to run the football against this defense. Um, and then you got Ertz, you got Lane as a deep threat, you got McCaffrey, he's been doing stuff. You should be able to you should be able to score whatever you want. Like Cliff Kingsbury needs to name his number and be like, we're going to put this amount of points on these guys, and they just need to go do it. And say, the defense, to hell with you. Like, we're going to do this whether you get us the ball back, whether you don't get us the ball back, we're going to go out and do this. And to me, there's no reason why they shouldn't.
You're right about one thing. If we were going to have a get right game on offense, and again, the offense is producing, but we haven't yet seen them hit that high note consistently. If we're going to do it, it's going to happen this week against the Cowboys in Dallas. All right. And if it doesn't happen here, maybe it's just not going to happen this year. All right. But you may need to score 40 points because the Cowboys may put up 35, 38 points themselves. All right. So, you know, this is the week right here. There's such a big difference. You and I have talked about this over the years between being the 25th worst defense in football. Usually that means you're not good, but you're giving yourself a chance, right?
Hmm.
When you are 31st and 32nd in the league, you are getting roasted every week. You are basically good at nothing. You are stopping nothing. You are not giving yourself a chance. Oh, my goodness. And that's what this Dallas Cowboys defense is so far. I don't expect it to change. Man, you look at everywhere. The defensive tackles are a little bit better than average, but they're not great. They're not consistently yet a team working together. Is Kenny Clark I like, Digazui I like, but they're not yet a tandem that's a force of any kind. The edges, obviously, without Micah Parsons, are just nothing to write home about. The linebackers, I think, at this point are a deficit. The cornerbacks have their moments, but they're without that good pass rush, they get exposed, to be honest, for the kind of the ball hawkers they are. And then the safeties are below average. This is a consistently below average set of safeties we're looking at here. There's just nothing here on this defense. If Washington can't score points this week in a really high level manner, if we can't get Jaden Daniels broke out for the first time this year in a true breakout fashion, then it may just not be going to happen this year. But this will be the week to do it.
Yeah, I'm seeing now that DeMarvion Overshone, I think he's been a linebacker that's played. I know he played well for him last year. I don't know about how he's done this year, but I think he's going to miss some time here. So um, further diminishes that linebacking core grade there, I'm sure. Again, look, we might not be able to stop him, but we should be able to outscore him. You know, um, we'll see. We'll get into that.
Stay tuned for our prediction at the end. I think everybody can tell where it's going. Hint, it will not be a defensive battle.
No, no, and of course it'll be like 20-17.
Of course, yes, since we said differently, yes.
Yep. So. But before, actually, you know what? I'll let you go ahead and do you know, Ben's keys to hail victory here.
Yeah,
Because
number one, I was
I have a
thinking,
couple here I want to add into there, but I'll wait for you to
yeah,
do yours.
absolutely. Number one, stop beating ourselves. All capital letters here. And I know, listen, my first 2 points are two of the same points that I've been bringing up several times over the first few weeks. I'm not going to change them. Okay. Until we stop beating ourselves, I'm
Yeah.
not going to stop putting it up as one of the keys to victory. My gosh. And listen, this is a pro team. The coaching staff and the players, they all do technical, complicated things. I'm not suggesting that. But I'm not going to come up with more enhanced XO strategy stuff when we can't stop beating ourselves. That is the number one thing. And no more week have we seen it than the one we just came off of 24 hours ago. Okay. We got to quit the goofy turnovers, quit the goofy penalties, quit the dropped passes, quit the sloppy tackling, in some cases, no tackling. It just goes on and on and on. It's been almost all season. Number one key, more than anything else I could put out there, we got to stop beating ourselves. The good teams do it. The Chiefs reign as Super Bowl contenders. They don't beat themselves typically. The Patriots' 20-year reign as dynasty, they didn't beat themselves consistently. The Eagles, our hated division opponents, do not consistently beat themselves. That's just the mark of the good teams. The Colts, for all those years, I could go on and on. The good teams do not consistently beat themselves, though they may have a bad week, right? We've had several bad weeks where we just keep doing this. So key number one, and it's going to stay key number one until we get it cleaned up. Stop beating ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think we committed many penalties last night, but it's just the all the other miscues, the missed field goals, the fumbles, the turnovers, um, the drop passes, the blown assignments, the miscommunications, secondary, just all of that. I mean, that all factors into beating ourselves. So unfortunately, it's just one of those things that's been a theme that Dan Quinn has admitted to. So, all right, if you're admitted to it, then let's fix it, right? So this week should be different.
Yeah, and listen, we only had 5 penalties last night for 40 yards, but it's been a problem for many, many weeks. And just because we took a night off on the penalties and cleaned that up a little bit doesn't mean we've stopped doing that. So,
All right.
key number two, keep bringing the energy. One of the things that has been important here for Dan Quinn, for Jaden Daniels especially, those two guys, they've brought a bundle of energy into the building. Okay, and that's important because they don't want to keep making these mistakes, right? And we as fans don't want to keep seeing it. But if you're going to make the mistakes, at least be bringing the energy. And there is something special to that, right? That makes up when you're bringing that kind of energy, and it's been there every week, was there all last year. When you're bringing that into the building, into the practice facility, into the games, into everything that you do, when that energy has been there, that will make up for quite a few mistakes. Can't make up for all the mistakes, but it does keep you in the games. And instead of, we haven't seen a lot of head hanging, we haven't seen too much finger pointing, we haven't seen a lot of guys just quitting on these games. The energy is high, and so that makes up. There is something special to that, and that makes up for a lot of the mistakes. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So keep bringing the energy. I'm not going to change that either. Until we start playing better, I'm not going to stop this key to victory is keep bringing the energy because that's what's making up for a lot of these mistakes. You get down 10-0, 13-0, and all of a sudden the offense starts moving the ball a little bit, or you get a big turnover. Those are the energy things that start to turn this around. So that's been important in every game. That's why we won that Chargers game, right? The energy didn't stop. So keep bringing the energy. It is disappointing. It is wildly frustrating, but fight through it. We're seeing them do that. That's why we're 3-3 and not 2-4. Is keep bringing that energy. So keep that. That's very important.
Yeah, I will say that the last drive last night against, when we were on defense, we didn't have the energy. We didn't bring it. I could say that's one of the maybe until towards the end of the Green Bay game. Those were a couple times. I don't think players quit, but you could tell that they were just defeated, So which is frustrating, especially because last night on last drive, you make a stop or force a turnover or force a bad play or something of that nature that could have changed the outcome of that game. And it felt like they went out there and they already assumed what the ending was going to be. And to me, that was incredibly frustrating and very, you know, as a fan, that just pisses you off. It's like, come on, guys, what do you think they're gonna do out there? Like, you know what they're gonna do. Let's bring it to them, take it to them. Get the ball back. If they can force turnovers, yeah, you know what? So can we. So I don't think they brought the energy all 60 minutes last night.
Perhaps when I looked at that last drive, though, I saw the same difficulty stopping the run that I saw the entire game. That's what I actually saw. The Bears just continued to be able to run the football, but they'd been doing that the whole game just about. So it didn't, I'm not saying you're wrong. It didn't strike me as an energy thing, as a, hey, we've continued to struggle to stop this run game.
Right.
I thought I saw that in the last 3 minutes, but maybe it was an energy thing. In any case, key number three, this is an XO thing. Okay. Work off play action. The Cowboys suck at everything. Okay. They're bad at everything. You go back and at the statistics and look at that if you want to rewind the video, y'all in the audience. But they're bad at stopping the run. They're bad at stopping the pass. They are bad at everything. So we can take our pick here. But we did see where the Bears were able to focus, and the Bears weren't good at stopping the run either, right? Entering this game, we did see though where the Bears were able to focus, put in some work, and slow that running game down, right? We talked about this 2 or 3 weeks ago. We said at a certain point, defenses are going to rechannel their energies into stopping our running game, right? So I don't plan to just make a living off running the football against Dallas, although I think we might could. I expect them to put extra energy into slowing down our running game because so far that's been our strength. And I expect them to play a lot of zone to try to just cover up for a lousy passing a defense here. So what I would love to do here is mix in the runs a little bit, but let's work a lot of play action in here. Let's hopefully suck up those linebackers just a step or two. And then Jaden Daniels, who already is going up against what I think is an overmatched secondary here, especially if McLaurin is back in the game. Let's give McLaurin just an extra little bit of breathing room there to work off that and to work against the secondary. So that's the idea. I don't plan on us continuing to hand the football off stubbornly during this first half and try to grind it out. I don't think we need to. I also don't necessarily like the idea of Jaden just sitting back there passing the football when he hasn't shown that he could do that consistently yet this year. So working off the play action, working off of our strength, I think is a very good way to set this up. And then if at some point we're in the lead and we're able to just keep handing the ball off and pound it, that's fine. If at some point we just need to get the offense in gear and just keep throwing it with Jaden Daniels to this group of receivers, then let's do that. But working off play action, I think will be a good start for this game.
So I guess a question about that, because this was going to be one of my points, but do you think that this is one of those games where we're going to go into it seeing a shootout, or is it one of those games where we're going to try to control time of possession? Because you kind of alluded to it with the game plan wise. Is it going to be more of like we're going to play time of possession, keep Dallas off the field because they have a high-powered offense, and we're just going to methodically move down the field? Yes, we're going to run, but we're not going to have Jaden, drop back 50 times either, and incorporating play action. So, what do you think would be? I mean, I guess you could say whatever your game plan would be, or what do you think that they should be doing?
See, I debated that myself. I think that's very I don't know about very key, but I think that is where you have to make a decision, right? And I think we have to go into this thinking shootout. I really do.
Okay.
You've alluded to it the whole time, and that's where I went play action. I do not want to, especially with the guy that's fumbled twice in 2 weeks, right? I don't want to go into this game trying to play time of possession, trying to grind it out, and limiting myself on points against a very bad defense when I know that in the second half, if the Cowboys are behind, Prescott's just going to drop back literally 50 times and throw the football and maybe race by me because he's getting hot. I don't want to do that. I think we need to plan for every bit of points we can. If the running game is cooking, coming off this play action, then we can stick with it. But that's not the plan. The plan is not to just keep handing the football off and control it. The plan is to use the threat of our strength, the threat of our run game, to turn around and pass it against a very weak passing defense. Let's be aggressive. Let's try to get every single bit of points we can. I would even suggest, go for it on fourth downs as many times as needed. And I would even suggest going for touchdowns over field goals. If you're in a situation where it makes sense, right? And I'm not talking about fourth and 14s on the 20, right? But, you know, if you've got it on the 3 yard line and it's fourth down, I would suggest going for the touchdown, not settling for the field goal.
Yeah, I guess that would be it was either the points I was going to add was either, be time of possession or go for shoot, like pick which one you're going to go to. And then my other point was going to be stay aggressive. This is a division rival.
Yeah.
Okay. Are they a direct threat to you right now in their current state? I don't think so. But heck, we've seen teams with very dynamic offenses and historically awful defenses win a lot of games and even make the playoffs.
Yes.
I mean, heck, look at us last year. We had a dynamic offense and our defense was Swiss cheese and we went to the NFC Championship game. So even though this is what the Cowboys currently are and their record, the best they can get to is 500 this week. I don't want to say they're not a threat. We'd like to think we're more in the Eagles class, but the way we've been playing, we haven't been, you know? So, um, I need us to stay aggressive here. If it's 4th and 2 and we're not backed up in our own territory, then yeah, we need to be going for that. We can't be relying on Matt Gay to kick a field goal because he hasn't been consistent. And we need to be scoring points. We need to be, like you said, we need to be putting up 7, not 3. So really, I guess that kind of ties into your bring the aggressiveness. I feel like that's part of the energy. It's like we're not gonna get bullied around here. We're gonna do our thing. We're gonna score points, and we're gonna make you stop us. So I guess just staying aggressive, imposing your will, even on the defensive side. Like we know they're gonna score a lot of points, but at least try to make it hard for them. Like make it difficult. Don't be giving up those DeAndre Swift type of, touchdowns where, he's largely untouched. And when he does, I mean, it's just a piss poor tackling effort.
Yeah.
Um, or just busted coverages. Like at least try to make it hard on him.
Yeah, I agree. I do not plan to go into this game running the football and grinding it out. I will hand the ball off some. I need to. But I'm really wanting to just establish just enough of a run game to work off play action. Let's start getting some chunk plays in the passing game. That's really what we need here, and I think we can do it. I really do. We talked about this Cowboys defense. I feel like it's all here on the table for us to have a big game in yardage and points. I haven't seen a darn thing from this Cowboys secondary that makes me think, even without Terry McLaurin, that we cannot put up some big yardage here. Okay, and if we get McLaurin back, and even if he's a little muted in terms of full packages, that's okay. That's just all the more mismatches that I think we've got here. So I'm looking forward to just mixing in the run game and the play action enough to even further set up that passing game.
All right. Prediction time?
Yeah, high scoring. So I was tempted to put one of the teams in the 40s. I will back off of that just slightly. Okay. But I've got the Commanders winning this 38 to 35. To me, we are still the better team, and I don't think that it's razor thin. I feel like we are the better team from a talent standpoint. And I feel like we've got the better coaching staff. Okay. I feel like we've got even the better energy, even though the energy in Dallas is not bad. You can see from some of the scores that they're competing here. But I've got the Commanders winning 38-35. I think it's going to be tight all the way down to the end. High scoring though, man. I really feel like these offenses are going to move up and down the field, even if they don't produce that many points. I feel like they're going to put up a ton of yardage on each other.
See, I'm going with you on the same thing, but higher score. I'm saying it's going to be 45 to 41.
It
And
might be.
hopefully we're on top of that.
It very
But
well could be that.
I really hope we're the ones on top of that, but I'm gonna go 45-41. Um and another point to this that we didn't bring up is Brandon Aubrey, man. They crossed midfield and they're in range. Just put three on the board. So I
Yes.
think there's gonna be, even if our defense tightens up even just a little bit, as soon as they cross midfield, they're in scoring range. And I think there's gonna be a couple of those field goals that's like, man, our defense, like, oh wow, good job. And it's like, well, we still gave up three, you know?
Right.
Um, so even if there's progress made, we're still not out of the weeds yet. So he's truly a weapon. So I think there's gonna be a lot of points scored, a lot. And I got us on top, but I don't feel too confident about it given our current state of things. So I got 45 to 41.
Nor should you. Listen, we haven't seen anything out of our own defense, and God love them, right? I like our guys, but we haven't seen a darn thing out of any of them that makes me think we can slow down this Cowboys offense. But I haven't seen anything out of this Cowboys defense that makes me think they can slow us down either, even though we haven't played particularly high level, right? So,
Yeah,
uh, dangerous team we're playing here. We are the better team, but Dallas can easily win this game. It would not take much. Very dangerous here. So we really need this. You mentioned how the schedule gets tougher later on, right?
yeah,
But we really need to be at 4-3 heading into those tougher games to give you that little bit of room for error. But, one week at a time, we can and should win this game, but Dallas can win this game too. They are very dangerous right now.
absolutely. Well, if you haven't already, please make sure you're subscribed to Pro Football Enterprises. Make sure you turn on notifications. You'll get updates for when we upload and for when Ben uploads his other videos. Ben, can you give a little taste of what other videos you have up recently?
Yeah, I will say both for the Box Score Network YouTube channel and for Simon and Friends and for Pro Football Enterprises, all three of those entities starting to put out a lot of draft content. And I know some of you don't like to study the draft until the season is over. It's totally fine, but a lot of you do. So for those of you that want to get an early peek at some of the good players or just want to think about maybe you got a team that's struggling and you're starting to take an early look at what they might be able to collect in the draft, that's available. We got a lot of guys up already on all three sections, so go check that out for the 26 NFL draft.
All right, you got anything else to add before we say goodbye?
Boy, I wouldn't it be nice to be 4-2 right now, dang it,
Oh man.
and having not played particularly well and
Yeah.
being able to, in theory, go to Dallas and turn into 5-2, we just not there. Um, we're flirting with it. It is nice to know we haven't played our best game yet, and we haven't. I mean,
Yeah.
the Raiders win was nice, but that was with Mariota versus a team that's still trying to find its way. The Giants win was nice, but we didn't play particularly great there. So it is nice that we haven't played our best game yet, and we're still 3-3 with good chances against everybody. I'm not scared of any of those teams coming down the track either. I think we can compete with all of them, but you know, time to kick it in gear. Hopefully, we can get this going on Dallas week, right?
It would certainly be nice. It would feel a lot better considering it's division rivalry, classic division rivalry, arch rival, for
Yes.
many years, many decades at this point. It would certainly be nice, but again, can't hold our breath on this one. This is gonna be a grinded out type of game. Well, it's gonna be a shootout, but we're gonna have
Right.
to, it's gonna be a tough one. So hopefully we will see you all next week at 4-3 and with a hell of a win against our division rival in their own home. So we'll see you all next week, hopefully with a win.